So, you want to go where few have gone before. You want to leave behind the safe harbor of the 4/4 time signature and enter the realm of Radiohead, where masterpieces are assembled from the oddest of meters, a path that most mortals don't even dare to tread.
But don't worry, we're just changing one single number.
One that will change your life forever.
Hello everyone, this is... "15-Step" features a rather unconventional combination of max MSP-generated drums and acoustic drums, played by Radiohead's drummer Philip Selway. As our patrons know, I love to make 808, 909 or Lindrum adaptations of drum patterns just to see what I can do with a fixed set of sounds. And since Radiohead also like to use a 909 from time to time, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We have enough on our hands as it is with the 5/4 time signature, and not worrying about sound design will allow us to focus on the pattern itself. Plus, it will be much easier for you to recreate this on a normal drum machine. If you want to hear a more experimental version, you can take a look at our Vermona DRM1 review. For the pattern, we'll use these sounds. The tempo is 94.5 BPM. As I said, the 5/4 time signature is the main obstacle here, so let's tackle that problem first. On a typical sequencer, we have 16 16th notes. 4 16th notes combined form a quarter note, and we have 4 of these quarter notes in a bar, hence 4/4 timing. The ergonomics of practically every step sequencer are built around this: 16 steps and markings for every pack of 4 steps. Okay, so in 4/4 time we have 16 steps, 4 per quarter note. To get 5/4 timing, we just need to add another quarter note to the bar. 4 more steps. That makes 20. Yeah, sadly not 15 steps like the song title. I mean, how great would that have been? The beat now no longer goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unfortunately, this also means that to see the final quarter note of the bar, the last 4 steps, we need to switch to a different page. Back and forth, back and forth. Not exactly user-friendly. But that's not the fault of the Deluge. Every 16-step sequencer becomes a pain in the ass in that scenario. Come to think of it, maybe that's one of the reasons why most people stay in 4/4 time signature. Anyway, here's the problem. We don't have a sequencer that can show more than 16 steps at a time, but we still want to give you the best possible overview of what's happening. So, here's what we're going to do. We'll program the first 16 steps on the Deluge and the final 4 steps on the Polyend play. Sync the two via MIDI, and there we have our Frankenstein 32-step sequencer. Just a little zooming and repositioning in post so the steps line up, and we're good to go. Whoa, look at my hand! So, this is brand new territory. We'll start with the intro. Let's lay the foundation and put a kick on step 1, and another one right here in the middle of the pattern. Since this is a 909 version, we'll work with 3 different intensity levels. First we have accented steps, like these. Unless I say otherwise, that's the intensity I will give to new steps. From there we can go down to a softer, unaccented step, or up to an even stronger total accent. On a 909, RD9 or one of the newer Roland drum machines, you can get a total accent by adding the global accent on top of the regular accent. Okay, here's where things get interesting. We'll place a pack of 4 claps with equal spacing right here. And in the same time frame on the right side, we'll distribute 3 claps. These 2 instruments alone already capture the rhythmic essence of the song. There's just some glue missing. So on top of this, we'll add a hi-hat pattern. The same on both sides. Here the hi-hat pattern rubs against the claps, and here it works with them. Oh, and this is also a nice example of psychoacoustics in action. Can you hear that this open hat sounds different from the others? That's because it's the only one that's not frequency masked by a clap that's playing at the same time. So, how do you count this then? Technically, this means that's not one bar, but 2 bars at half speed. We'll save ourselves a lot of grief by programming it this way. 5/4 songs are often described as uneasy or off-kilter, but I have to say, here it feels especially wonky. So, we're done with the intro. Let's move on. Before we dive into the main pattern of the song, we need a transition, something that takes us out of the intro and gives us some time to breathe, but also keeps the tension up. First 2 kicks for orientation. During most of the song, we hear the 4-3 clap combo from the intro. But for this transition, we're going to let the snare take its place. We'll break the pattern slightly by going for 3 hits on each side. Now let's bring in some more kicks to ramp up expectations. The first kick and the last 2 kicks are accented. That makes for a nice abrupt ending to the intro and creates a connection to the verse. In the original, the kicks get distortion instead of accents, but we'll rely on the 909's trusty total accent to do the job. On top of that, again some hi-hats. But that's a bit too blunt. We need to make it more interesting. Let's solo the hats so we can focus on them. In the original, there are some hi-hats that really stick out from the rest, some very sharp sounds that pierce right through. I'll imitate this by giving them a total accent. To make the difference even more obvious, I'll reduce the surrounding ones, but only up to about here. I want the intensity of the hi-hats to increase towards the end. Here's how it sounds in context. Notice that there are no hats at the very beginning and the end of the pattern. If there were, this wouldn't sound nearly as impactful. Do you hear how this steals the thunder from the kick? The pattern needs these pauses for maximum effect. Now it's going to get a lot busier. Let's again start with our 2 anchors on the kick. We won't add the hand claps yet, but they will be playing the pattern from the intro. And this means the snare's now free to do its own thing. Same phrase on both sides. But we definitely need more dynamics in here. I want the weight to lie on these 2 hits. And maybe soften the first one to ease into the phrase. On the right side I'll do something similar, but I'll only accent 1 hit and I'll soften the first 2 steps. The right side is now tamer than the left one, which supports this whole ebb and flow kind of vibe. Listen to this in conjunction with the claps. Can you hear how the left side feels as though it's compressing or tensing up, and the right side as if it's relaxing? We can emphasize this contrast even further by accenting this kick. In between the last snares on each side, we'll wedge in another 2 kicks. Now onto the hi-hats. In the original, there's quite a bit of variation happening on them. The hats and their accents constantly shift around. The simplest version of this would be to just program alternating open and closed hats. And then accent some of them. One final touch, an unobtrusive ride cymbal to start each bar. The hard work is done. Now comes the fun part. What we programmed in the last chapter is a happy middle ground that you can use as a starting point for further changes. So let's take a look at some easy variations. Think of these as building blocks. You can combine them to form many different patterns. So, every time you hear this, we'll reset the pattern to its original state. Let's start with the kick. The very first time pattern 3 is played, there's a kick on step 4. But that disappears as soon as Tom York starts singing. Insert silly joke in the comments. You can max out this last double pack of kicks and place a regular one right before. That goes in tandem with an additional snare over the last kick. That gives a lot more oomph to the end of the pattern. You can also skip the first snare hit from time to time, on both sides. Me after a few hours of transcribing Radiohead patterns in weird time signatures. A nice snare fill at the end, with 2 accents. Phil Selway sometimes plays a snare roll, here or here. 30-second notes, so double substep. In the original, these are just subtle ghost notes, but since we want to stay within the confines of the 909's dynamic levels, this is as low as we can go. But I think it sounds pretty good, a nice groovy add-on. You could prepare 3 copies of this pattern, one entirely without rolls, one with a roll here, and one with a roll here. And then just switch between them as you please. If you have a Roland TR6S or 8S with the newest firmware, you could also use the substep probability feature. As I said, the hi-hats have a great deal of variation. So let's just cook up a fresh batch. And sprinkle some accents on. Switching between these hats and the ones from the previous chapter already brings in a good deal of variation. While you can shift the accents around as you like, you should pay special attention to steps 10 and 20. Very often there's an accented hi-hat on them. And I'd say it's pretty unusual to accent the last step in the bar, so this makes the beat even more distinct. Ah yes, the classic. Sometimes there's a crash symbol at the beginning of the bar to indicate the start of a new section. One time there's also a ride symbol preceding the crash by 2 steps. And finally, we have 2 variations that go nuts on the ride symbols, either like this, or like this. we'll program one more transition. Accent the first step on both the kick and the snare. All done. This is a really nice segue that takes away most of the complexity and creates some space just before everything returns to full power and the guitar starts playing. These were the most important patterns in the song. There are a handful of additional variations in the middle section, but the core rhythm stays the same. If you want a written, printable transcription of all drum patterns from 15-step, then check out our Patreon. We also have lots of cheat sheets and other drum patterns for you there. So, off you go. Experiment and make your own rhythms in 5/4. And as always, a big thank you to all of our patrons. We're very grateful for your support. It's the reason we can keep making these videos.